So this is basically an open world, survival crafting sandbox game, and world rebuilding is a central aspect here. You are part of this tribe called the Shimo, and you are coming back to your ancestral lands after your people had to leave a long time ago. You crash land when you get there, so this is where the game begins. There are pretty much 3 main gameplay pillars this game builds upon: the ecosystem building, the town building, and the exploration and combat. The main idea is that you're trying to bring life back to this pretty dead looking world. The way you approach this is pretty interesting. Instead of just chopping down trees like in most survival games, you actually have to plant these special seeds, called colossal seeds. These grow into massive trees that help create ecosystems, which brings in different animals and plants. The map is handcrafted, and when you start, about 40% of it is available to explore. The rest is blocked off by these dark areas called Withered lands, which you will have to clear up as you progress. There are 3 main types of environments you can create. There are citadels. These are basically like towns, mining areas, and farming zones. The building system is definitely different from typical survival games. Instead of placing individual walls and planks and stuff, you place whole buildings, almost like a city builder. There are about 15 different types of buildings, including things like windmills, blacksmiths, and farming plots. Once you have placed them, these buildings work automatically. For getting around, you've got this wing glider, and there are some smaller animals you can ride. There are these huge creatures too. While you can't ride most of them yet, you can definitely climb on them, which looks pretty cool. The game does have various NPCs as well, so you are certainly not alone in this world. The game is gonna launch with about 40 different creatures and about 70 different types of fish, which are all used in cooking recipes. Combat is definitely part of the game, especially in those withered lands I mentioned. We have seen some pretty weird enemies there, but when it comes to creatures, it's not just about fighting. You can often choose to help creatures instead of hunting them, because of how much we have seen of the other game's aspects and how little we have seen of the combat so far. I assume the actual combat and its mechanics are more like a side element, which would make sense considering the premise of the game. Since it takes time for the plants and animal life to regrow, you should harvest in moderation to ensure optimal progression. However, the developer did emphasize that the game takes the Animal Crossing approach, where you basically don't regress and are not really punished, but progress will be slower if you are hunting and harvesting beyond what would be considered appropriate. The game supports 4-player co-op, but keep in mind that you basically visit other people's worlds rather than having a permanent shared world. You can trade with friends though, which I imagine is quite useful, since different players may have access to different resources or creatures, depending on how they have developed their world. There's also a system for finding artifacts and ancient ruins, which you can display in your own museum. Some other cool features include underwater exploration, bow fishing instead of regular fishing, cooking, and a farming system. There's a day-night cycle as well. They are releasing it in early access because of budget constraints, and they are being pretty upfront about that. They will be adding more content over time through free updates. This game is priced at $30 US, which seems like a fair price for a game that clearly wants to be more than just another generic survival game. And that sentence concludes today's video. If your time was respected, a like or comment is very much appreciated.